Good morning, my beloved sister. How you doing?
I'm great. We thank God.
Awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. So, yeah, we're just gonna click on and continue on the first two verses. I dropped some things in the chat. The first verse 6 and 7 of Daniel chapter 1 we'll be looking at. And we've been looking at what's in the name, right? As all that things were changed from a name that carried God to a name that carried the God of Babylon. And that's what we're looking at. Looked at some discussion questions. We pretty much went through all of that yesterday. And we're just going to look at some any question. I don't any question on what we have done so far? Did you make it yesterday? Any question on what we've done so far?
Okay, I couldn't make it yesterday. I was in the market.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I was just trying to get what you missed, what did you get? But any question just like on what we've done so far as regards the name?
No, I understand.
No, all right. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So as I go through a bit of your name, I'm going to probably repeat some of the things we did yesterday. That will help you capture what we did yesterday. Pretty much a name is a label, right? When you give a name to something, pretty much putting a label to that thing. So the name is a label. But when you use the word label, when you label the thing is that you are defining that thing. You're saying this is what you have, right? And in a sense, you are saying you can know that. I called something anything. I call you a TV. I'm saying TV is your name. TV is the definition of who you are. All that you are is TV. You are not radio. You are not a movie. You are not a book. You are not a TV. When you label the thing, probably you limit that thing. You are saying there is a defined boundary to who you are, what you are. So when I give a name to a thing, you are defining the thing, and the sense separating it from any other thing. You are saying that it's different from any other thing, that it is this order. So so to name a thing is to demarcate it, separate it from any other thing, is to define it, is to also release it. Because depending on the name I give to it, I might release it from what it used to be to what it becomes. And we saw that example in Jacob when he wrestled with God in prayer. Either he was limited by his name, which said you are always going to be a supplanter. But then because he wrestled with God, he was not even actually, in real sense, he wasn't wrestling with God. What he was wrestling with was his whole self. And that's a typology we saw in Paul, when Paul said that there are things I want to do that I want to do it, but I cannot do it. It's a wrestling with your flesh. It's a wrestling with your own identity, right? So Jacob was wrestling with his old self to give birth to his new self. And we all go through that. If you look at your life, you know that there was a point in time where you're probably tired of a particular thing in your life, that you have to rest with God. These are no more, right? These are no more, right? So you label it, when you give a name to a thing, it can be to release the thing, because depending on what the name you are giving to it is compared to the old name. If you give it a name that is higher than what is coming from, then you are releasing it to new possibilities. That's what happened to Jacob. That's what happened to Abraham also. God changed his name from Abram to Abraham, to release him to a place of childbirth, to a place of fatherhood. Same thing God did to Sarah by changing our name also. So giving a name or a label to a thing is also a place of releasing that thing to. We're just talking about the fact that when you give someone a name, it's a label. You're labeling the person. So to name a thing is to label the person. And when you label the person, you demarcate it, you separate it, you say this is what you are, and you are no other, right? Sometimes we do that intentionally, sometimes we do that unintentionally. Sometimes we do that out of our head, sometimes we do that out of our heart, sometimes we do that out of our emotions, sometimes we do that out of our joy, sometimes we do that out of our pain. And we have all that example in the Bible. We have someone that gave birth after the Ark of Covenant was taken. So instead of thinking as to that she might be limiting the destiny of her child, she was just thinking out of her pain. She named the child Ichabod, the glory is gone. To her, she was naming the child after her pain, but to the child, she was limiting the child because she's saying, you shall define, the glory is gone. The same thing happened to Benjamin. When Benjamin was born, the mother named him after our pain, right? Which was the son of my sorrow. But the father was wise enough to change that name immediately to Benjamin. Is the son of my joy. What does Benjamin mean again?
I remember now.
Right. I think it's the son of my joy or something close.
Son of my consolation. Son of my consolation.
Yes. Joy. Son of my joy, son of my consolation. As against joy, Benjamin, which was child of son of my sorrow. Right. So you can either limit the person or you can release the person by the way you name the person. We saw the limiting also on Jabez. Jabez's mother named him as one that was limited, but he had to pray his way out of it. The same way we saw with Jacob, praying himself out of it, and his name was changed from Jacob to Israel. We saw God releasing Abraham by changing his name, Sarah really changing his name. Even Peter, Simon Peter, Jesus changed his name from Little Rock to Big Rock. Yeah, so when you give a name, you can either limit the person or you can release the person, right? You define the boundary of that person, whether you increase the boundary or you limit the boundary. But more important than everything we have said so far, more important to God is when you name a person, it's a memorial. That is the most powerful of everything I've said so far. What a name is a memorial. And God loves memorial. Memorial will either make you or kill you. Whether you remember or not will determine how your life will end. Memorial was what made the difference between the 12 spies that went to spy the land. 10 saw giants. 2 saw their God. What was different between the two of them? 1 remembered the mighty, 2 remembered the mighty works that their God had worked for them all along. 10 did not remember yesterday. They only saw today. They only saw today. And that was why they could not believe God. They could not believe the same God that worked all the miraculous works before, because their memory was limited. They could only see what was before them. Caleb and Jacob and Joshua saw what that God had done for them up to that time. And they used that memorial to compare with today. The others only saw today and tomorrow. They had no memorial of the miraculous work of God. Same thing we looked at in Hebrews, right? I believe, was that Hebrews, is it 12 now? Well, we'll talk about that they don't enter into the rest. Why did they not enter into the rest of God? They had no memorial. After every miracle, they forgot. Every challenge they face as today, with no memory of what God had done before. Because they did not remember the miracles of God before, they did not have faith. Because they did not have the basis for their faith to face their present challenge. I mean, my time is gone, so I'm going to close with this. to know how important that is to God, we'll see how Jesus Christ related to his disciples in Matthew 16, verse 9 and 10. Right? He was saying, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees. And the disciples thought, oh, he's saying that because we did not bring bread. We forgot to bring bread. This person said, how can you be this backward? How come you don't understand who I am by all the things I've already done before? See how I fed 4,000, I fed 5,000, and you're still thinking that bread is the most important thing to me. Now we complain to you that you did not bring bread. If you can remember those miracles, then your mind will not be that shallow. Think that I am worried because you did not bring bread. Because I can feed you out of nothing. See, they were thinking low because they had forgotten. They didn't have continuous present knowledge of the things God had done before. I'm going to stop here so I don't kill time. But memorial is what is the basis of our faith. More important than anything else, God does memorial so that we can have faith for our present and our future. That's the whole essence of the Bible in the first place. Don't forget, you're not going to have faith except by the word. What does the word tell you? The word tells you memorial, tells you all the things God has done before. That's the basis of our faith. So more than anything else, a name is a memorial. And we'll talk more about it tomorrow. I'm going to stop there. Any question for me? Anything I said wrong? You want to add something? And how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Sorry.
Good.
I've not been able to
Good.
make it because of the change time.
I know. You're 1 hour further behind us. Yeah,
Mm.
I understand the pressure. Yeah, but I'm glad you're able to make it.
Mm.
We've been talking about the name. The little we said here, any question?
Really?
We're presently looking at Daniel chapter 1, verse 6 and 7. We're saying what's in it. That's what will be shared.
Okay.
But you don't have to.
Yeah.
What?
I think that yeah, it's very important what the name that whatever name that a person has, it's kind of very important because that kind of helps you in your life. Like for me, I mean, like when I'm going through some trials, I remember my name and what the name is, and I pray to God with the knowledge that this is what my name means, and and it's like a memorial to God, like you said, and to give me the faith and the strength to keep going. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all part of it. It's all part of it. We'll start it on Monday. If you have the chance, you can catch it up on YouTube. It's all there. Just trying to build on verse 6 and 7 of chapter 1 of Daniel. Just trying to remind ourselves the importance of a name.
I'll try to go back and listen to the videos on YouTube.
Yes. Can feel free. I believe it will bless you. Yeah. Auntie Beauty, anything before we shut down? Auntie Beauty.
No, I was just mesmerized by those especially the memorial that one should give a name for a memorial, and memorials are very strong. God, every time the Israelites did something, he told them to put a stone up and use it as a memorial, because human beings are easy, you are quick to forget. So when you have a memorial, you always go back, and it will build up your faith and your ability to give thanks. That's was a strong point for me.
Yes, yes. I tell you, that's probably the most important part of the name. And we'll talk more about it tomorrow. I'm going to finish it next week for a burial, like I said. So yeah, we'll continue up our week when we come back. But it is powerful, and may God, immortalize, because it can make the difference between heaven and hell.
You are paused. Okay.
Is that
You are paused. I didn't hear. Yes, now you're on.
no pause and on? Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
It has a mind of its own. My speech on the screen, it's because it's a touch screen. So anything on the screen is all having, I have to find a way against it next time. I'll screen or something. But I just said that a memorial is very important. Just what it's and it will make a difference between heaven and hell for us in this life and in the life to come. So yeah, but God will help us. We'll continue tomorrow.